I just want to welcome everyone to our first session of a series where we are looking at vibrant living through mindfulness. And today we're looking at part one, which is the bridge to mindfulness. So I am going to share my screen. I know that we have some people who have joined us today for the workshop. And I know that we're recording it and we'll be sharing it in the future. So whether you're a part of it today and now or in the future, I look forward to the sharing. And for the purpose of today, when we're finished, there will be a time for you to ask questions, and I will be more than happy to talk to you about any of the questions or thoughts that you have on our topic today. So I shall share my screen, and here we go. Good. So just a little bit about me. I have been working with seniors off and on, but pretty much always since I was a kid. So either as a volunteer or in my day-to-day work as well. I'm currently working for an up-and-coming seniors community for independent living seniors in Steveston. It's not open yet, but we are already working on our community in different ways. So I love that industry. I love supporting people and connecting them to the resources that they need to live their most vibrant life. And, you know, my background, I've always loved doing that. So my work either with seniors in the community or in housing, seniors housing, or human resources was a big part of my background as well. And I've thrown some holistic health and coaching in there. So I've kind of had a coaching component to my life and work, whatever I am doing. I did a 3-year program in holistic health and modalities, which included looking at and studying a variety of mindfulness practices, and then taking that out into my work, either as a healing practitioner or as a coach in the workplace with employees or with our residents in senior living. So that's just a little bit about me and my passion for bridging people, connecting them to the resources that will help them live their most vibrant life. And sometimes those resources are on the outside. And sometimes my work is looking at this bridge to mindfulness where it's doing that inside work that gets us connected to living mindfully and with more oomph and vibrancy and joy. Anyways, that's what I love. And I'm going to share my thoughts and experiences with you today around how you and people you know, because some of you are watching this for your own seeking. Some of you are watching it because you're working with people who are looking for more vibrancy and building their own mindfulness practices. And some of you are here for both those reasons, because it doesn't really matter, even those of us who have regular mindfulness practices in our lives and may be in a time when things are more balanced and joyful. Bottom line is we're all human and we all have our moments and times in life when we need to kind of get grounded and back on track, re-energized and all that. So for our workshop today, if you have a pen and a paper, I recommend that you pull it out. So maybe you use a journal or a notebook, but I invite you to our first practice for mindfulness today, and that is in participating in this workshop. So I would say I invite you to be present in the things that I'm sharing. Some of it will resonate well with you. You may already be very familiar with everything we do or talk about, or some of it may seem new and foreign and might hit you in a way that either feels great or doesn't. Take note, just a little note. Don't get lost in the notes today during the workshop because we've only got a short period of time. But the notes should just be little reminders to yourself, because I believe there's reasons why we might notice something, and you can go back to it later. That's the purpose of the note paper. So that's my first invitation to you, is to kind of be mindful in the workshop while we go through. And we'll have a few other exercises as we go along. So I'm going to take you through our agenda for the day. So we are going to look at just briefly, what is vibrant living? You know, it's kind of a buzzword: vibrancy, living the good life, good vibes. But today we're going to look at what we think this is. And the bottom line is, it's going to be different for different people, but identifying it and thinking about it and considering what vibrant living is for us as an individual is really important. We're going to look at what is mindfulness. I mean, it too might be considered a buzzword these days. Be mindful. So we're going to look at kind of what the world thinks mindfulness is, and come to a place for ourselves what we think it is for us, and be looking at ways that we can use it to help us improve our life and lift us into more vibrant living. We're going to talk about and look at what keeps us from living our vibrant lives. We're going to look at how we can bridge to our vibrant lives. I just want to say, you know, a lot of us can possibly get out there and try yoga or all kinds of different things that people consider mindfulness practices, but sometimes it's really hard to stick to it. That's what we're going to talk about, that place between wanting to do something, thinking we need to do it, but actually doing it. And that's what this piece today is about, helping us build those stem cells and get ourselves over that bridge so we're living our vibrancy. We're also going to look at noticing. It's an important component, and why. We're going to look at intention setting and how we can do that in meaningful ways for ourselves or support others in doing so. We are going to look at action steps that can lead us to where we're wanting to be. And then we'll do a quick summary at the end as well. So I know that some people here are already in a caregiver role. They're exhausted, tuckered out. And as I said, some of you are probably working with clients and some are both. I have tried to gear this to anyone because the bottom line is we're all human. We all experience life's waves of challenge at different times in our lives. And it's really important for all of us, whether we're 2 years old or 108. We all need to be having conversations about these things, finding ways to incorporate it into our lives. And hey, everyone deserves vibrancy and great living. So we're going to move right along, and we're going to talk a little bit about what is vibrant living. So I'll tell you, I have worked with all kinds of people, employees, groups of residents. I have coached a number of people of all different ages. I've worked with youth and seniors. And I have gathered kind of the feedback and ideas and the common responses and things that I've been able to pick up from the different groups and people that I work with. And that's what I'm bringing out here today. So it's from a lot of people. So when I talk to people, what's vibrant living for them, they're seeking living a life that's stress and worry free. Uh, Others say doing the things that you like to do and want to do, make you feel good. Being balanced. So, as balanced as you can be, just feeling content and knowing that the basic pieces in your life that are important to you are in a good enough place that it feels good. Some people talk about belonging, being a contributing part of a community or society or family. Not everybody has a family system around them. So community becomes like a family. And some belong to several. It takes a village. And depending on the person, that community may look very different, or the village as we call it. But pretty much everyone has a yearning to belong somewhere. And we all know that when we do belong, it can lead to all kinds of awesome things when we're in a community, when there's more than two heads or hearts together. Lots of good things can come out of that. So feeling content and happy, being helpful and giving back. Some people thrive in that. And, today, some of our focus, we're talking with the Caregivers Hub. Some caregivers are really good at this, but they're not as good at taking care of themselves and giving back to themselves, or even allowing others to be helpful for them or give back to them. And so that's where the being balanced piece comes in. We all have our fortes, but it's really good when we can notice which area needs a little bit of attention. Being energized and motivated. I talk to a lot of people who are exhausted, tired, don't know how to get their motivation and their oomph back. They're looking for that piece, working really hard, very much living their lives, but missing that feeling of being energized, passionate in their day because they're tuckered out. And then just enjoying life, the feeling that they're enjoying life, living life with a purpose. So some people who I have worked with don't even notice that they don't have a purpose. But when they start working with mindfulness practices and taking care of themselves, they start to notice the purpose for them that actually brings them vibrancy, a feeling that is really good, and they're enjoying what they do. Of course, being healthy and making healthy choices. And that might look a little bit differently from person to person, but the bottom line is everybody needs to eat well. Everybody's body needs to move. Everybody needs connection. It's sort of the body, heart, mind, soul. Making sure that we're feeding our whole being with what it really needs. Yeah, a lot of people will bring that up, the eating well, moving enough. So this is similar. Socializing and connecting with others, learning and taking in life lessons and opportunities. Being trusting in life. And that comes up a lot. And it's not necessarily something we talk about, but it's rooted in the place where a lot of us, maybe not even thinking about it, are living out of fear and anxiety and controlled by too much of that. And a big part of what we're talking about today is about how do we move out of that and into this list of awesomeness. Um, and a faithful piece comes up for a variety of people of different faith backgrounds, different religions. But a lot of people have that as a core desire, wanting to be faithful. And I find when I work with people, it's often um, connecting it back to the one before, which is trust. So sort of a combination. And others who are not religious believers, really just focus on the trust piece, but it's what fits and feels right for you as an individual. For sure, we know that people who are in a more chronic state of challenge, fatigue, and stress, they can barely bring their heads up for air. Um, but being aware is really key. And hopefully, some tools that we talk about today will help you or a loved one or a client um, find greater awareness. And that can lead to this great stuff that we're sharing and talking about. So, vibrant living. Now we're moving on to mindfulness. So, what is mindfulness? Uh, the little picture here gives you some ideas, but the main kind of definitions that we seem to see or hear about, it's a practice of paying attention. It's being present in the moment. It's being intentional without judgment, focusing on a desired outcome, seeing what you don't want and taking steps to manifest what you do want. Noticing and observing your thoughts, emotions, senses, and feelings, and taking action to bring about a desired outcome. In general, that's what mindfulness is about. And one thing I've noticed also when I work with other people, when we talk about being mindful, the truth is we're being mindful every day, but we're not being conscious about it. But we are making choices and focusing on things that aren't necessarily helping us. And this invitation today is to take mindfulness to a more conscious place where being present, noticing, we are actually moving ourselves out of a place of doing things from a more robotic state, where we're focusing on fear and anxiety, that kind of thing. No, no more. Today, we're looking at ways to lift ourselves out of that and use our mindfulness to lead us into our preferred living. So, you hear about common mindfulness activities. These are the kinds of things you're hearing about. You're hearing about conscious breathing. Breath work. This one is underrated. The truth is, it absolutely, when you are using your breath consciously and even attaching it to a feeling or a positive thought, it can be mind blowing. It can change us and help us immensely. To remember that and use it as a tool is really helpful. So people will talk about noticing your body, the feelings, emotions, and or thoughts that you're having. Meditation, doing seated meditations, or just stopping to notice throughout a day. That's a mindfulness activity. Some people do mindful walking meditations, but meditation in general can happen in different ways. Seated or mindful walking are common. Eating, in our day where, food and eating has become a challenge in our world, where such a huge amount of food is not great for us. And there's a lot of people struggling with how they eat. Making a choice find ways to eat mindfully can also be very helpful. There's talk about it, but we need to look at how we can do that more. Doing mindful body scans. Some practitioners help people to do this. Practices when we go to bed, when we're just before sleep, just noticing what's going on in our body. Listening with non-judgment. So that means listening to ourselves with non-judgment as well as listening to others. Prayer, yoga, these are all mindfulness activities that are more common. We're going to look at it from a different angle today and primarily look at more of the foundation and, like I said, the bridge. So what keeps us from being mindful? So why is it so hard to build a practice or to focus on things that we know are going to help us feel better? Why is it so hard to do that? Well, there are two culprits that I have noticed showing up in almost every human being who I have worked with or been in a relationship with, a family member, friends, whatever. This is the biggie. And it's about rampant thinking, self-judgment, negative thoughts, obsessive thinking, mistaken beliefs, when we've made an assumption about ourselves or a situation. And this place is where a lot of people get stuck. And this is what keeps us from living our best lives more often than not. And another one is when we let others pull our strings. When we let go of being in control of our own loving, joyful power. And some people might call this situation a bit of a people pleaser. You know, many of us have fallen into that place, and it can be a lovely gift, but in excess, it can also bring us to a place where we lose ourselves and our own purpose and ability to be in joy in all that we do, even the hard stuff, because this isn't about avoiding what life is all about in terms of, hey, there is a life cycle. Some things work, some things don't. We will fail, we will succeed, we will learn. All that happens, and sometimes it's really hard. But it's more, how can we navigate in the realities of life and still maintain our ground and some joy and gratitude, all of that. So now I'd kind of like to do a little exercise with you. So this is called brain balancing. As we move through the rest of our program today, and just thinking of something that you can take with you as a tool. Brain balancing is grounded in the idea of neuroplasticity, which shows us that the brain is actually remarkably adaptable and able to create new neural pathways. So there are some little exercises that are recommended for people to use, and there's different websites out there that help us. But I'm going to just throw one in here right now, and just drop your pens and practice with me. And later you can just make a note if you found it interesting. But this is a mindfulness practice that scientists and doctors, some doctors are using to help people, especially if they get distracted easily. It's used often to help people calm their nerves and get focused on one thing, the important, whatever it's at hand. So the first one is called Lazy Eights. So if you can sit back so that your arms can reach out in front of you just make a gentle fist and have your thumbs in the air. So what you're going to do is trace a large figure 8 that's lying on its side. So imagine an 8 in front of you lying on its side. Now you're actually going to use the thumb of one of your hands at arm's length in front of you. You're going to reach as far right and left as your arm will extend, and you're going to let your eyes follow your thumb, but don't move your head. And after you've traced 3 8s in the air, reverse the direction, doing it in the opposite direction 3 times. And then you're going to do that with your other hand. So we're going to start with the right one. You're holding your hand straight out. And you're going to start moving to the left. Do 1, and you're not moving your head, and you're watching your thumb, and you're going to do that figure 8 3 times. And now you're going to go in the opposite direction with the same thumb. You're watching it with your eyes, not too quickly, not moving your head, going as far to the left and as far to the right as you can. And when you've done 3, you can put that arm back to your side and pull your other hand and arm out in front of you. Now you're going to do the same thing. You're looking at your thumb. Let's move to the right. And you're going to do 3 figure 8s sideways, not moving your head, allowing your thumb to be with your eyes 3 times in that direction. And now you're going to go in the opposite direction. Three times. Good. Okay. So that is called lazy 8s. That exercise is used for children and adults. And the intention is to support the brain as you are aiming to calm nerves, get focused, and to actually create new neural pathways. So I am actually going to recommend to you to try it a couple times a day, or work with someone and work together trying it, and notice after a week or 2 weeks if you can actually start to see some changes. How does it feel when you're doing it? So take some time to do it. Stay focused on your thumb with your eyes. That's about being mindful. So it's a mindful exercise that can help to calm, can help to decrease the problem of rampant thinking, and help you get grounded and more focused on the task at hand. And while we're on it, because I think this is really important, I'm going to give you one more exercise. It's called the cross crawl motions. Cross crawl motions. And I'll tell you, for this one, we're standing, and you're going to raise your left knee and move your right elbow to your left knee. So standing, left knee up, right elbow over, down. And then you're going to do it on the other side. So you're going to go back and forth 6 times to each side. So you can count to 12. And that is 1 round. And the same with that one. See, maybe pick one of those exercises, either the lazy 8s or the cross crawl motions, or both, whichever you feel called to. All right. So there you go. There's one little exercise that you can take away, and one approach that honestly, if you're at work or at home or in a stressful situation, you can go to a bathroom. You can go to another room and it can be done very quickly. And I recommend that you just kind of do a little bit of breath before and after, just 1 or 2 inhales and exhales mindfully can help set you on a different path. So we're going to keep moving here because time is of the essence. And we are going to look at this one. Remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So this is where if your head is full of thoughts and you're running around for everybody else and not caring for yourself, you're not going to be able to survive, you know, and nor can you fill a cup that is already full of something else. So how do we let go of all those thoughts? Because if you're going to have a head full of anxiety, stress, and worry, how are you going to create space for the courage and the joy and all that good stuff that you want? Well, you're going to do that through mindful practices. Oh, yes. So just remembering again the oxygen mask piece. So if you're the people pleaser or the one who has let go and is just running to please everyone else or do for everyone else, just remember there will come a time when it actually is not helpful anymore because you're not going to be able to breathe. But beyond that, where's your own joy? Because you are worthy and you deserve as well. So how do we bridge? How do we bridge from old habits to mindful, vibrant living? Well, the first thing that we're looking at is noticing. So noticing, you know, there are different ways of looking at this. Some people talk about their intuition, their senses, your gut. You know, sometimes we're noticing feelings in our body. Noticing comes in different ways, and some people notice in ways that are different from another person. But in practicing mindfulness, if we're going to be making choices that can improve our life, and if we want to change our habits, the first commitment we need to have is to notice. And that means noticing what's going on for ourselves and how are we reacting to what's going on around us. It's really paying attention to the aha moments when they come. And when we started our session today, the first mindfulness practice that we talked about was making notes. So journaling, I suggested that you make notes as we go through this session. And that is one of the really helpful tools that can help you track the aha moments that you have or things that you notice, maybe even dreams if you're curious about that. But feelings, emotions, things that come your way, however they do, make sure you pay attention and notice. So just quickly, because today is a workshop, I'd like to do on your notes with your pen. First, let's start with your hands on your legs. If you're sitting down, don't cross your feet. So uncross your legs and feet and have your feet planted on the ground and your hands on your legs, not crossed. So I invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes and just notice your breath. Take a nice breath in. And breathe out. All right. What do you notice as you're scanning? Just look into the different parts of your body with your eyes shut. Do you notice any feelings? And you're breathing just naturally, but slowly and intentionally. Notice any thoughts that come up and then let them go. That's what breathing meditation can do. It can give you a chance to let go of what's in the outer world as well as the excessive thinking. You come back to your breath. And for some people, it helps to do a counting breath meditation. So you may count to 5 slowly, hold your breath for 4, and then breathe out again for 5. You will find a count that fits best for you. So I invite you to open your eyes. And if you had any noticing from that, a feeling, just make note of it. And then we are going to have to move on because our time's going to run out. All right. So step 2 in the bridge to mindfulness and living vibrantly is trust. And, you know, it's the one that we don't talk about enough. It's really essential. And a lot of us don't even know if we're trusting ourselves or life or any of it. But learning to trust ourselves is really important. So I'm going to encourage you in your notebook. We don't have time to do the exercise, but a trusting exercise using your journal and breath work. I want you to write down, when did you trust yourself to do something? When did I last trust myself to do something? And then I'd like you to note something easy and something more difficult. And I'm going to share this with you. Asking yourself that question and answering it can actually lead to you feeling more empowered when you realize that you already know how to trust yourself. And just want to share, people who are depressed and almost bedridden with anxiety, for them, getting out of bed is an act of trust. Stepping out of your bed, stepping into the public and meeting with someone, those are elements of trust. And you are taking those steps and connecting. Now, that might be the case in December, and in March, you might be fully on, and trust then will look like something different. It might be about stepping into a social environment that's kind of scary. But learning to trust is key, and taking the time to ask yourself the questions and show yourself that you actually are already doing it, even if it's in little ways, and just kind of track and challenge yourself to take another step that's a little bit more difficult. You know, pat yourself on the back and celebrate. I know I read a quote by Joseph Campbell that said, follow your bliss. Your bliss is in your intuition and your gut. Notice when it reveals itself, and notice what you're doing. And trust that what you're noticing is truly important for you. Things that bring us bliss, important. Okay, got to keep going real quick. So I am saying, if you want to change what's going on around you, change what's going on within you. And that's what we're talking about today. Forgiveness and trust have the power to change the world around us. So let's mindfully look at these areas. And when I mention forgiveness here, we could do a whole session on that and how we can do that with ease. But a big part of it is learning to forgive ourselves as well and trust ourselves to move forward. So moving along, number 3. So we've gone through noticing, learning to trust and allow ourselves. And number 3 is intention setting. Everything that happens in the universe begins with intention. So what can we do today? What kind of intention can we bring? So if we're noticing something that we want to have changed, it's setting a goal in that day to take a step towards the change. And this too can be a module on its own. And I look forward to our future sessions when we can explore and really develop our skills in each of these areas. How do we bridge from old habits to mindful, vibrant living? Well, it's through these practices, remembering the foundations that we've just discussed. It's being willing to try different exercises that can support those changes. Practicing mindful living, one step, one practice at a time. And, like I said, it's not the same for everyone. Not everyone wants to do yoga. Not everyone wants to, so really it's about you noticing what you like, trying different things, and allowing yourself to take them on and allow them to take the space in your heart, in your head, where the anxiety or rampant thoughts have had space. No more. All right, so notice, trust, set intentions, practice developing different mindfulness practices for you. So the tips we have here: keep at it. You deserve it. It's worth it. You are worth it. Go back to it when you remember, and again and again. This is the natural process. So I find with clients who give up because, hey, I can't do it, I stopped, I can't do it anymore. But that's where, with trust and forgiveness, we allow ourselves, it's okay, it's normal and natural to get busy or forget, or to fall into that cycle of rampant thoughts that take us away and off course. But as soon as you remember, go, oh yeah, and allow that to be the process and step back up and go back for it. So trusting and forgiving when life's waves temporarily sweep you away. It's freeing and empowering. So here, these 3 are probably the most important ones that you can use when you're working your bridge to mindfulness. So it is the breath work, counting. When you count and you do your breath work, it also releases you and your brain from the attachment to those rampant negative thoughts. Imagining and visualizing. So as you're noticing, imagine the change that you would like to see, and let yourself do some daydreaming, for 1 to 10 minutes with your breath. Just imagine. Imagining the positive action can actually change the makeup within you. And it definitely changes your feelings and your thoughts, which can change your biology. Now, using positive affirmations and mantras, a lot of psychologists and counselors are using CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, these days. And really, it's quite similar. When you catch yourself in a negative thought, or those are taking up space, counter it, find an opposite that's positive, and use that, repeat it, journal it, write it out. Yeah, your journaling is really helpful when you start to use it. And at the bottom, I've said celebrate. Celebrate the good stuff. Take time. Sometimes we're so busy, we don't even stop to go, wow, that's awesome. You know, every time you tell yourself that something is awesome or you're grateful for it, you're feeding the good stuff. And when we start to do that more regularly, it can get us into more mindful, positive living. We talked about journaling. My main recommendation is make sure you're catching the positive stuff, gratitude and celebrating. Even when you don't feel like it, at that point, use your positive affirmations. You might not feel like it, but you're using that statement. And I recommend in journals that you either have it in two sections, one for the happy, positive stuff, and the other for your discerning and your working through. Um, or use two different pen colors or a highlighter so that when you need a lift, you can go back and see that all that positive stuff was highlighted. And when you read it and breathe with it, it starts to feed you the good stuff, calms your nervous system, sets you up for a happier, better day. So the bridge to vibrant living through mindfulness is what we've discussed, and we're running out of time. So to sum it up, everyone, including you, needs and deserves to live their most vibrant life. Noticing blocks, barriers, and habits like negative thinking and worrying about everyone else instead of yourself, that needs balance. We can counter or replace them with mindfulness practices. It will change lives, your life. And the 4 steps in the bridge to mindfulness: noticing, trusting, intention setting, practice. That's going to take us over the bridge to our most vibrant lives, no matter how old we are and what we're up to. So, in closing, I just want to say our next session is December 18th, and I'm going to bring to our session, we're going to talk about tapping, which is becoming a common modality and technique for people to uh, find their calm, to move out of anxiety, to shift some neural pathways and get us into better, more healthy habits and thinking. We are going to do that on December 18th to support us through the festive season and prepare us for our new year, because we all want 2021 to be a great year and even better than 2020, much better. So we're going to tap, and it isn't dancing. So looking forward to have you join me as we learn about EFT and EMDR, mindful tapping techniques. And so I believe we're going to move over to Wingsy, but this will be recorded and available for you to share with your friends as an introduction. And moving forward, we're going to focus more specifically on techniques and do them together in our workshops so that we can all build our mindfulness practices and start living our lives even better than we could have imagined. So thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to connecting again in the future. Merry Christmas, festive greetings, best wishes. Thank you.